Before we start this podcast, this episode is sponsored by Zeta Markets. So if you want to trade perps without giving your coins to centralized exchanges, Zeta gives you all the benefits of your favorite exchange with self-custody and transparency. Trade perps with leverage, backed by Solana speed, scalability, and almost no gas fees. The link is in the description. Let's get back to the video. Zano, welcome to the Gaj Show. How's it going?
Hey, what's up, Gash? Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm doing good too. Awesome. Straight to the first question. What is your origin story?
Um, so my origin story is typical CS track, software engineering, bounced around startups, but always interested in this sort of like decentralized money environment. Bitcoin was always super cool to me. I first heard about Bitcoin on this morning show back in 2015. Some lady had like a barcode in the background of the news anchors, and then they mentioned like, oh, that's Bitcoin, and that sounded really cool. So from then on, I just went down the rabbit hole, and I ended up just sort of like speculating on crypto. Didn't really ever dive in technically up until like 2019, 2020, where I got into DeFi and actually started coding up like EVM data indexers, running on-chain MEV bots, mostly like yield farming strategies, things of that nature. And from then on, here we are. A lot happened between then and now, but ended up here.
Awesome. So previously you worked at Amazon and multiple other companies. So how's the life at Amazon, and like what experience did you have as a software engineer for past 5 years?
Yeah,
I think 6 years.
Yeah, Amazon's a great company. It's ran like it feels like the Amazon, like the actual Amazon in Brazil, because you have all these like small teams working and they're all building like this larger thing, but everybody's sort of like focused on smaller components of this like larger picture. So it's cool because you sort of get like a startup feel by working on a small team, but at the end of the day, you still deal with all the big company drawbacks that you get, just like with politics, not coding enough, too many meetings, things like that. Other than that, though, great place to work. Yeah, I was doing a lot of Java over there, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's just like I feel like it leads to spaghetti code based practices. So from there, I left for this DeFi startup called Parsec, where we were indexing basically EVM data to display it on like Bloomberg style charts. So for example, you want to get a fire hose of like real time liquidations happening on Aave. You can go on Parsec and filter by that, and just do all sorts of. It's best for like a power DeFi user.
Gotcha. And how did you get into how was Jito born?
So Jito, it's not quite the most romantic story, but it is interesting. It's very crypto native. I didn't know Buffalo up until 2 years ago when we actually started Jito. He tweeted out something. He was doing all sorts of MEV stuff on EVM chains, I think Ethereum mainly, and he tweeted something about like a MEV DAO on Solana. And right around that time, I was writing like on-chain Radium yield farming strategies. There's a bunch of like Radium, I forgot what they call them, but just all these yield farms popping up on Radium. So it seemed like if we're both kind of interested in this sort of same vertical, I just reached out. I was like, hey, here's what I'm working on. What are you working on? Maybe we can get together and brainstorm some ideas and work on something together. So it started off. We didn't have high expectations. It was supposed to be like just let's see where things go. Maybe a weekend project or something. But as we started digging in and doing more research, we started to realize, oh, this could be a lot bigger. And at the time we had this theory where like Solana's probably going to go through the same thing as Ethereum went through, which is just negative externalities of MEV are going to surface. For example, on Ethereum, it was PGAs. That's not the case on Solana because the gas just doesn't work like that on Solana. It's a flat fee. But what happened on Solana, and it's still happening, is block space just getting wasted by these failed transactions due to like MEV spammers because of the low fees. So so the theory is kind of playing out. And now, the goal is to really gain mass adoption on Solana so we can actually fix some of the negative externalities that are associated with MEV.
Gotcha. And so how was the shift from being a software engineer to a CTO and like managing people?
Yeah, I mean, so lucky for me, I'm still in the trenches, still coding a lot. So it's just a lot of coding with a bit more meetings than it was before. I think we like to, Lucas too, we both like to lead by servitude. So, we like to code. Everybody on the team likes to code. So we're all in there. I would say that the hardest part is just, becoming more aware of, people, becoming more empathetic and understanding how people work, what makes people, what drives people to actually, put in time to work towards this vision and how to keep people motivated. These are like intangible things that you kind of have to build intuition around. And I think that's been the most struggle, but, we live and we keep learning.
Cool. And like till date, what has been your best and your worst decision?
My best and my worst decision. I think my best decision was, it's a tough one. I would say, I think starting Jito was a pretty good decision. I think the timing of that was really good too. When we started, MEV was still not a hype. It wasn't very hyped up compared to like in recent months, how all the hype that it's gotten. Worst decision. You're making me think of my trades now.
Except trades. Like like for the last couple of podcasts, like I've only heard trades, so that's something different now.
Let's come back to that one. Let's come back to that one at the end of the show.
Awesome, that's good. And so if you had a time machine, like what would you change?
If I had a time machine, what would I change? Let's see. I would go back in time and try to convince Anatoly to implement dynamic base fees at the start of Solana.
Oh,
that's what I would do.
Interesting. Gotcha. And what do you think about the MEV space in like next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think MEV is just it's an emergent property of these systems. I think it's not something that you should try to fight. It's something you should lean into and try to not mitigate, but sort of make it beneficial to all users on the chain. So I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see MEV become this more open and transparent thing where it's less about exclusive order flow and that's a world we don't want to end up in. So I'm being an optimist. It's less about that and more about a more decentralized supply chain from like transaction originator all the way to like block builder and like all the stuff that happens in between. So I'm hopeful that these blockchains actually attack the problem in a way where it redistributes MEV to the users responsible for generating the MEV in the first place, which is just normal transactors on the chain.
Gotcha. And got. And what are your Solana thesis?
My Solana thesis. I think part of my Solana thesis is the developer ecosystem. I think Solana's got one of the strongest dev ecosystems. Everybody's motivating and uplifting, and it feels like we're almost like an army marching, trying to push this common goal of let's make Solana most successful high performance blockchain. It's the first of its kind, I think, and you don't really see strong ecosystems like this. It's really like it's all about the ecosystem. Like the tech's great, but I think ecosystem comes first, and the community we built is kind of what plays into my thesis of why Solana is going to be successful.
What are some things coming up soon in Jito?
So in Jito, let's see what can I share. So we have launched a few products recently that I can highlight. So we have the Shred Stream product. It's basically a way to get proposed block data faster than the rest of the network. MEV is largely a latency game on Solana. So what that means is you want to shave latency off at every step in the pipeline, and part of that pipeline is like searchers need access to the latest blocks. So Shred Stream basically gives you priority access to the latest blocks proposed by a validator. So that's an interesting product. I think that's super useful. It's as easy as hitting us up in Discord and generating an API key, and you get access to it. One more product that's in the pipeline that we're not rushing to launch, but it's going to be coming soon. It's a bundle explorer. So basically an all-in-one dashboard. People are aware of our MEV dashboard, so we're revamping that, adding a bundle explorer on top, so you can actually see bundles coming through and see what's being tipped, what are just like different properties of a bundle, and getting data on that.
And what are your thoughts in the meme world right now? Like what's happening like in the meme world outside Solana?
There's interesting stuff going on in Ethereum with the recent PBS deployments. I think keeping an eye on how that plays out there. There's also interesting research being done on like in the cryptographic MEV space, where I think people are exploring how you can actually make MEV even more fair by encrypting what searchers are submitting and hiding those contents until it's absolutely okay to reveal what it was. So like, looking at things like SGX and other cryptographic solutions. I think that's really interesting stuff. So that's kind of the bleeding edge research I think that's happening right now.
How would you explain MEV to a 5-year-old?
I actually like this question. Let's see.
Yeah.
So, what do 5-year-olds want? What's their scarce resource? I think, let's say it's like, what are those playgrounds where they have the balls in the like the ball pits, right?
Right.
So let's say, all these 5-year-olds, they absolutely have to go into one of these ball pits. This is the scarce resource, is like space within the ball pit. It can only fit, let's say, 10 5-year-olds at a time. So, you start getting this line of 5-year-olds trying to get into the ball pit. But every time space gets taken up in the ball pit, it costs a little bit extra to get into the ball pit. So parents of these 5-year-olds start trying to tip the ball pit organizer, right? Whoever's like in the bouncer, I guess. Tip the bouncer, hey, let us cut the line. We're willing to pay up to some amount if you let us cut the line, so we can save some money on actually getting into the ball pit, so our 5-year-old can go and have fun. So it's like the MEV there is actually cutting the line, getting into the pit of balls.
Gosh, yeah, that's really a great explanation. So what do you think about Jito in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I think Jito's goal is to democratize access to MEV, along with helping Solana run more smoothly. Running more smoothly means less wasted block space, less spam on the network, validators not getting DOSed. So Jito kind of acts as this shield in a way and filters out those types of transactions that would cause the network to come down, crossing our fingers. So really, Jito in 5 to 10 years, I think success looks like most of the network running the Jito Solana client. There's no backdoor deals going on. All bundles and everything happens through like the Jito off-chain auction, and rewards we have this ecosystem of rewards getting redistributed to stakers, and stakers being rewarded higher than what like the inflation APR is. So it's like inflation plus MEV rewards. I think that would be success for us.
Gotcha. Um, have you looked into cross-chain MEV?
I have it. I know there's research being done in Cosmos Land for that. Cross-chain MEV is very interesting. It becomes more like, I think, statistical arbitrage. Um,
Yeah.
Without like the atomicity of, you know, what you get with single chain, things are a little bit tricky. There's some risk involved, but I do think it's a interesting area to explore.
What advice would you give to like a new what advice would you give to a person who is interested in MEV?
Advice that I would give is to just start building out a bot. You know, choose the chain you want to build it on. Write out a strategy. You're probably going to lose on your first strategy, and continue iterating on that bot. Once you start winning, just, you know, keep just continue improving it, and use Jito bundles for guaranteed atomic execution.
Cool. Can you give an example of a good strategy?
I think like during the USDC DPEG over the weekend, there was a specific bot. We'll probably do a little Twitter thread on this, but specific bot that made, I want to say it was either $8,000 or $14,000 in profit. So this bot was just, I haven't dissected the strategy enough, but they use Jito bundle to guarantee that they actually get the arbitrage over others. And so, you know, that's like not some obscure strategy. It's just arbitrage, but it's more about having your bot ready and being ready when the time actually comes to capture the MEV.
So, like, what advice would you give to the right strategy?
As in, like how to go, like what specific strategy to write, or
Oh yeah. So, for example, like so there's a listener who's like very after listening to this whole conversation, he wants to like get into the MEV space and want
yeah,
to use Cheeto. Like, what is the best possible way for him to like get in, like step by step?
yeah. I think so we have a searcher examples repo. It's basically an example that backgrounds arbitrary transactions with a memo transaction. So what that does is it's an example that, you know, integrates with our API, which is like the send bundle API and the subscribe mempool stream API. And then also shows how to actually construct a bundle based off a mempool transaction, submit that bundle with the tip, and then actually subscribe to blocks to see if your bundle landed. So I would say the best way to start is go look at that repo. It's called Searcher Examples under the Jito Labs GitHub organization, and then come into the Discord, into Jito Labs Discord, and ask to generate an API key. Ask for an API key. We'll send you a form. You generate the key, and then just start asking questions in there. Everybody's super friendly. So, you know, if you're a beginner, that's the best place to start, I think.
What is your favorite programming language?
If you had asked me this like a year and a half ago, I would have said Golang. Now it's definitely Rust now. I think Rust is one of those languages. Yeah, it's one of those languages you hate it in the beginning for some reasons, and then for those same exact reasons you start to love it after you actually get your hands on it. So I've come around.
Awesome. So like, what are your Rust thesis?
Yeah, I think like once you get over the initial learning curve, I think the compiler starts to be somewhat of a really good signal that your code is correct. So that's always nice. It's like, if it compiles, it's at least it's somewhat correct, you know. Still gotta test it, but so, you know, the memory safety guarantees and the borrow checker and all that, I think just like the Rust compiler is a beautiful thing. Although it's very slow, for good reason, but that's why I kind of like Rust a lot.
Gotcha. And like, what are your thoughts on like the Solana world right now? Like, are you excited about any projects or teams building?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of cool projects. I think Margin 5 is shipping out a bunch of features. They're crushing it. Drift recently launched their new version. And then Clockwork's also a very cool project. And there's just a ton. There's Helios on the infra side. Um, Obviously Backpack. What they're doing, I think, is like a really cool consumer product. Um, so yeah, I mean, just a ton of projects. Hard to mention them all, but shouts out to all those guys.
What is your how was your student life?
Yeah, my student life. I was actually a pretty good student in college. So high school I was like not the best student. And then college I took things a bit more seriously because I actually enjoyed computer science. And I didn't take any computer science classes in high school like some of my other peers did. So I always felt like I had to catch up to everyone. So I kind of, I didn't really party much early on in college. I was always, at the library trying to, basically trying to work twice as hard as everyone else so I could actually catch up to them because, all these other kids, they're like coding since they're 15, 14. So yeah, I mean, that was my student life, just a lot of studying and then uh, really just kind of boring stuff.
Cool. And like, how did you get into Amazon?
I just, oh yeah, the pandemic was happening. I was at a startup. The pandemic was happening. I was starting to lose faith that the startup was going to have runway or like layoffs were going to happen. So I just kind of started shooting out my resume. And Amazon responded. They were hiring like crazy because the pandemic was great for them, right? Everybody was ordering using Amazon. So it was a pretty easy process. I mean, the interview was pretty brutal, but it was like a 5-hour panel interview over
Oh, wow.
webcam. Yeah. So
Like, was it like just you or like there are multiple people?
it was multiple people. So it'd be like an hour with somebody and then you'd get a 5-minute break and then someone else would come on. And it was that for 5 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So they really, they made me work for it.
And why did you decide to quit Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, really just crypto. Like even at Amazon, I was in the crypto Slack group channels. I started like talking to some of the blockchain infra teams at Amazon to see if I could transfer, but it became very obvious that that crypto was kind of consuming a lot of me. So it just kind of made sense to just work in the field that I'm already so immersed in.
What advice would you give to bear market survival?
A bear market survivor. What advice would I give them? So I was around like in 2017 is when I really got into crypto. But I wasn't working in crypto. I did feel the bear market, right? Because my bags were down. But other than that, it wasn't like I was on CT or anything. So I would say like this is my first real build through the bear market experience. But the advice I think I would give after all this is done is continue building. This is when you want to build, right? Like the bull market's got way too many distractions for you to actually focus on anything. Everybody's making money around you. And you're like, oh, why am I spending all this time coding right now in this like dark room, right? So I would say like, you just got to build. And I think the best advice I've received from my other peers is like, just survive. Don't get blown out. Don't get liquidated. Stay away from leverage. Just survive.
Awesome. And what advice would you give to open source developers?
Open source developers. I would seek advice out for more open source developers myself. I think there's a ton of open source developers out there that are doing great things. The thing about open source is it's cool because you kind of put your code out there and you get a bunch of eyes on it, and you get eyes from people all over the world critiquing your code or giving you feedback, maybe creating PRs if your repo's popular. So the advice I would give is like just build something that you think is useful and put it out there. If it starts to gain traction, continue continue adding stuff to it, add features to it, see what people want. Yeah, just get people's eyes on it, distribute it.
Do you have a book you would like to like read? for self-improvement?
For self-improvement, I did read this one book by Jocko Willink called Extreme Ownership. This was like 3 years ago. But some of those concepts kind of stuck with me. I think the general idea was like take responsibility for everything, every decision you make. Oh, just own everything, right? So once you start doing that, you start holding yourself accountable. When you hold yourself accountable, you actually start to make changes, positive changes in your life. So that's what I would recommend.
What are some productivity tips you would like to share?
I think productivity tips, I would say exercise. That's like, for me at least, a good diet and exercise is the best productivity hack. Whenever I feel, when my body feels good, my mind feels sharp, I'm able to focus. When I'm eating junk food, chips or whatever, it's just a world of difference. So I would say, like, get up, don't just drink coffee, go out for a run, go out for a lift, whatever, and then start your day like that.
What are some life lessons you would like to share?
I think be honest, just try to spread love. The world needs more love. That's it. I think love is what makes the world go round.
Do you have any alpha to share with us?
Alpha, I would say banking system collab. Not the entire banking system, but we're seeing dominoes fall, and I don't know. I think the writing's on the wall there. What do you trust? Do you trust self-custody funds, or do you know what I mean? So I'll just leave that at that. Not financial advice.
Awesome. It was great chatting with you, Zano.
Likewise, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.